All right, let's get into it. We're going to talk about how Europe's absolute giant of a port is going through this pretty wild digital makeover. And look, this isn't just about getting bigger. It's about getting smarter, a lot smarter.
It kind of sounds like a joke, doesn't it? But for a port, this is a massive billion-dollar headache. Every single hour, a gigantic cargo ship sits idle, waiting for a spot. It's burning time, money, and a whole lot of fuel. So how on earth do you manage that kind of chaos?
Just to give you a sense of scale here, try to picture this. We're talking about a port that stretches for 26 miles. It sees over 140,000 ships come and go every single year. It's basically a city designed purely for logistics. And when you're operating at that size, even the smallest little hiccup can turn into a gigantic problem.
So, to deal with those ship traffic jams, they made one really big change. And the result? Well, it's this number right here.
Yup, a 20% drop in waiting times. It's incredible, and it just shows you the power of data. They're using an AI called Pronto, and it can predict a ship's arrival at its dock down to a 20-minute window. Think of it like the most advanced air traffic control system you can imagine, but for the ocean.
But here's the thing. As cool as that AI is, it's really just the tip of the iceberg. The real secret sauce behind this whole thing is a much, much bigger and more ambitious project.
They are literally building a digital twin. So imagine a perfect one-to-one virtual copy of the entire 41-square-mile port. Every single ship, every crane, every dock, it all exists in this digital space, and it's all updated in real time, second by second. It's less of a map and more like you're playing a hyper-realistic video game of the entire port.
Now, the key thing to understand is that this is so much more than just a pretty picture. Unlike a static map, this digital twin is alive. It's constantly pulling in all these different streams of information to give managers a single screen where they can see everything that's happening. This lets them not only react to the present, but actually run simulations and predict the future. So what's feeding this digital beast? Data. Just tons and tons of data. There's this huge network of IoT sensors all over the port, and they're constantly feeding it information on everything you can imagine, from the tides and the weather down to the precise speed and location of every boat and the exact water depth at any given moment.
And here's where it gets really cool. This is how that data makes a real-world difference. Because they can predict the exact water depth 3 days in advance, a ship can safely load its cargo just a little bit deeper in the water. That tiny adjustment means it can carry up to 20 extra containers. Now, multiply that by thousands of ships a year, you see how the efficiency just skyrockets?
Okay, so we have this incredible digital brain, but how does it actually move things in the real world? This is where the data truly meets reality. And honestly, it's pretty mind-blowing. This quote says it all, really. It comes from one of the port managers, and it perfectly describes what it's like at Rotterdam's most advanced terminals. It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but it's happening right now. A port that basically runs itself.
I mean, just look at the difference. The old way, you had people walking around the docks, you had clipboards, tons of paperwork. The new way, it's all run from these remote control centers. You've got autonomous vehicles doing all the heavy lifting, driven by pure data with perfect precision 24/7.
These machines, the self-driving vehicles, the automated cranes, they're basically the hands and feet of the digital twin. If the twin is the brain, these are the muscles, carrying out its commands with the speed and coordination that, frankly, no human team could ever match. But Rotterdam's vision doesn't just stop at its own coastline. They're thinking bigger, way bigger. The goal is to take this whole digital revolution and make it global, to change not just one port, but how the entire world trades. The big idea here is to create these digital corridors that connect major ports all around the world. The goal is to let data flow just as freely as the cargo itself. When you do that, you start to create one single, seamless, transparent global shipping network. And believe it or not, this is already happening. Back in 2022, Rotterdam and the Port of Singapore kicked off this huge project they call the Green and Digital Corridor. And the goal is nothing less than creating the world's longest, smart, and sustainable shipping route. So how are they going to pull it off? Well, it's all about getting everyone to speak the same digital language. They're standardizing how data is shared, finally getting rid of all the paper, and perfecting just-in-time arrivals. That means ships don't have to race across the ocean just to sit at anchor and wait. And the biggest prize of all, a massive cut in fuel use and emissions. Okay, this all sounds pretty amazing, right? But, Building the future is never quite that simple. A change this big comes with some pretty serious challenges.
It's a real balancing act. For every game-changing benefit, there's a major hurdle. You get this incredible efficiency, but that also opens you up to huge cybersecurity threats. You want a sustainable planet, but that requires competitors to actually trust each other with data. And all this automation and predictability, it means a huge shift for the workforce, moving jobs away from the docks and into high-tech control centers.
And that really gets to the heart of it. The technology, for the most part, is here. It works. The real roadblock is the human one. You're trying to get shipping lines, governments, and port operators who've been competing for centuries to openly share their data. That requires trust, and building that trust is, by far, the hardest part of this entire puzzle.
But look, if any port is going to figure this out, it's probably Rotterdam. Innovation is kind of in their DNA. I mean, they've been a major port since the 1300s, became the busiest in the world by the 60s, and they were already pioneering automation way back in the 90s. This whole digital push is just the next natural step for them.
So, at the end of the day, here's the main takeaway. Rotterdam is designing a future where the physical world of shipping and the digital world of data are completely woven together. It's a future where information is just as critical as the steel boxes it tracks, and the result is a smarter, faster, and hopefully a much more sustainable world.
So Rotterdam is building the port of the future. The infrastructure is becoming intelligent. But that leaves us with one last really fascinating question to think about. What happens when the ships arriving at this smart port become just as smart themselves? What happens when they're fully autonomous? Now that is the next frontier.